If you're terrified about AI, this episode is for you. Yes, AI is going to be an extraordinarily disruptive force in most of our lives, in all of our lives. It already has been in a lot of ways. My guest shows us how it can also be one of the most creative and humanizing tools maybe ever known to humankind. He shares with you exactly how to use AI in ways that will benefit you, in ways that are so powerful and so uplifting. Hi, my name is Andrea Miller. Welcome to Getting Open. Let's get into it. Derek Rydall is a transformational leader, consultant, and best-selling author. His newest book, A Whole New Human, 10 Ways We Must Evolve to Survive and Thrive in the AI Age, has just been released. For over 20 years, Derek has guided hundreds of thousands worldwide to activate their inner potential, become irreplaceable, and lead with purpose amid rapid change. Derek has coached Fortune 500 executives, worked with award-winning creatives, shared stages with renowned luminaries, and hosts the globally popular Emergence podcast. And I must add, he is super fun. Welcome back to Getting Open. I shouldn't say back. I've talked to you before. Welcome to Getting Open and welcome back to my studio.
Thank you. It's really my honor and pleasure to be here.
Well, congratulations on your big new book. It's exciting.
Thank you. Yeah.
Right on time. And there's just a little smidge of optimism, which
For
I love.
sure.
I'm saying that just to tee this up. So many people are not just afraid, they are freaking terrified by the AI age that is barreling toward us. Should they be?
Well, yes and no. We don't want to become characters in the movie Don't Look Up, where there's a meteor heading for Earth and we're all acting like nothing's happening. Something's happening, something very major. It's already happening. The future is here. It's not evenly distributed yet, but it's here. And it's going to radically transform the way that we live and work and connect and communicate, beyond a doubt. Just like the telephone did, just like electricity did, just like the internet did, but in all of those evolutionary or industrial revolutions had lots of positive impacts eventually, but they also created a lot of negative impacts in the short term, and the benefits of those great innovations did not accrue to the everyday person like us for a very long time. And in the last big industrial revolution, we were like mostly farmers. And then when it was done, there were no more farmers. It was like 100% to like 3% or something. In that sense, it happened, I think it was 80 plus years it took for that change. This transformation might take 8 if we're lucky. And we don't change that fast as humans, as governments, as societies. So yes, we should definitely be very aware. The word beware means be aware, stay conscious. That's where that word comes from, be aware. And we need to be very aware and get very prepared right now.
Okay. So, and thanks for that. And I love how you catalog or sort of list out the different revolutions that anybody over the age of 30 has personally experienced. And many of those under the age of 30, it's like, okay, it's in recent enough time that they can appreciate how those changes have benefited them, right? And yes, they've been disruptive, but I also think of disruption as like, oh my goodness, dang, I miss vinyl records. Yeah, sure, I can go buy them, but I love my Spotify, right? And how nice to have almost all the world's music at our fingertips, right? And yes, I realize there's been some winners and losers, say in the world of music. And it also strikes me that a lot of people who couldn't who couldn't get a record label to sign them now have distribution at their fingertips. It's not easy. In fact, I just was the person who wrote that song "Ordinary," Alexander Warren, I think. He talked about how many times he had to put that. He had a record label, but they didn't believe in the song, and he kept. And you're going to love this because it goes exactly to what you're talking about. So, it's this beautiful song, and he talks about how the label didn't believe in it. And they're like, no, this isn't the hit. He was like, I assure you, this is the hit. This is the hit. And so he took it upon himself to go onto social media. I think he said he posted like 130 times, like a pretty big number. And I don't know where he was as an artist. I'd never heard of him. But now Ordinary is this gigantic hit. And he put himself out there. He knew, he believed in himself. And because of social media, which is extremely disruptive, this song became a hit. So when I personally think about the benefits of disruption, I think of those benefits. And yet it feels like, I think probably for a lot of people, okay, that's great for him and that's out there. So I'm going to ask you, for someone listening who feels quietly panicked about becoming irrelevant in their work and at their life, what is the first inner shift would you say they need to make before they touch a new tool, a new skill, or a new strategy? Because that's the whole point, right?
You had a little bit of a Freudian slip there. You said before they touch a noose. I'm like, whoa. don't, whatever you do, get the ropes.
Do not touch a noose.
Do not
a new
do
skill.
That.
A new skill.
Yes. Yeah,
I'm talking too fast, Derek.
TikTok is certainly one of the most popular places for new artists in that genre, in that domain to be found, even by record labels. But the most important first thing, we have to return literally to the roots of self-help, the Oracle of Delphi, who was the first real guru, and she gave a warning. She said, "Know thyself." And so in a world, that was principle one. She was like, in this crazy world that's, disrupting at her time, you need to know yourself. And this was also what the great Stoics taught. And then after that, Jesus, or before that, Buddha and Jesus, and on and on and on. So these principles, the first principles of life that lead to the greatest successful people, the greatest innovations, the greatest foundation of really all of society, including science and everything, all started with that. Know yourself. Know what you're really made of, what you're really made for, because every seed in nature, including the seed within us, has a perfect pattern of purpose and of potential and of power. Everything that is alive comes from a seed, and those seeds have a pattern. And that pattern was not given by society. You brought it with you. And so in a world where AI is already doing about 40% of what any human can do, and will soon be able to do almost 100% of what humans can do better, faster, cheaper, there's one thing that it can never do, and that is your unique lived embodied wisdom and experience, your unique voice, your authenticity. We are the original AI. Authentic intelligence, ancient intelligence, ancestral intelligence, maybe even angelic intelligence, but we are the real super intelligence that we've been seeking. We've just been conditioned to seek it outside of us. We are the killer app we've been waiting for. As Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. So the first step is to get back to ourselves, because since we were a baby in a crib and well-meaningly, mom or dad put the rattle above us and said, look outside of you. And every time you started to cry, they're like, look over here. And every time you started to have a unique thought, they're like, no, listen to your teacher. And we need to come back to ourselves. We are the real super intelligence. We are the creator of all this tech, not the creation of it. So that's the first thing people have to do, because who you are uniquely is an algorithm that doesn't exist on this planet except in you. And when you bring that, when you know that uniqueness about you, your taste, your perspective, your lived wisdom, and you are willing to have the courage, the second part of that, know yourself, be yourself. Know yourself, to thine own self be true. That's the wax on, wax off of human spiritual martial arts. Is you need to know yourself, and then you have to have the courage to be yourself. It's that simple, but it's that difficult. But if you know yourself and be yourself, you will become irreplaceable. And of course, in the book, I break down the full journey of that, of what it takes to become irreplaceable, to future-proof your life, your work, your wealth, and your well-being. But it starts there, because the other thing I'll say, and then I'll turn it back to you, is if you don't know yourself, believe me, somebody or something else does. And when something knows you better than you know yourself, guess who's using who? That's why we have smartphones and stupid people, because we know more about our phones and our phones know more about us than we know about ourselves. And the algorithm is manipulating us. And it's just getting started. It's the social media algorithm that drove us to polarization and hijacked our limbic system and did not connect us more, but made us more anxious and depressed and alone. That's just the first inning of what the algorithms are capable of doing. But if we know who we really are and we're living out from that agency and that real voice, we'll make choices for ourselves and for our children, our loved ones, etc., rather than letting the algorithm manipulate the parts of us that we don't know. That's the key. So that's step one.
Oh my God. Where do I start? I have like 5 questions and 7 observations, but let me start here.
We have 10 evolutions here.
I know. And I hope to get through all of them or most of them. Well, and as a practical matter, I want to kind of call out something that you reference in other, conversations and in your other work, where we have all essentially been pre-programmed by a set of algorithms. Right. And it's something that I've thought about a lot when I think about my own healing journey. It's like, oh, good Lord, I am deprogramming myself. And, even before smartphones or before Google and Facebook and those technology algorithms showed up, we were pre-programmed by society, by our families, and so much of it unconsciously, how we show up to fit others' expectations and to belong. Right. And how so much of that ends up being misguided. And your point about the rattle, we're looking outside of ourselves. So this happened to people well before Facebook and TikTok.
Yes. Well, that's why I like to say people are, afraid of being replaced by programs and robots. I'm like, newsflash, most people were replaced by robots a long time ago, by programs. That is not their fault. But I mean, our minds have been colonized for generations, if not millennia, obviously. And when I had my near-death experience, and in the moment where I was about to drown, I saw a flash. And I had spent years trying to improve myself. And I saw a flash, and in the flash of light, I saw the self I'd been trying to improve. And he was a fiction. He was an amalgamation of parental fantasy and peer pressure, societal conditioning, all combined to create this fictional character. And I saw that nothing I would ever do would ever make him enough, because he was a fiction. But then I saw a self behind that, or in the midst of that, who had never been hurt or damaged, so he didn't need to be fixed or healed. And he was already whole and complete, again, like the perfect pattern in every seed, so he could not be improved upon. Self-improvement is an oxymoron. The self of you is perfect. And it's just been covered over, like when they tried to protect the golden Buddhas. I think it was in Tibet, I can't remember where, but they covered them up in clay so that when the armies came, they wouldn't think they were of any value. And they spared a lot, they saved a lot of these golden Buddhas because they all thought they were just made of clay, i.e. humans made of clay. And until one day, eventually, many years later, in a big rainstorm, it washed away some of the clay, and the monks discovered these were golden Buddhas. And so we have to wash away the clay of conditioning, of the religion and educational systems and media and parents, and all of that has put on us, and that we took on to survive, to become, because we had a core wound when we were young, all of us, where we got some message that said either you're too much, you're not enough, the world's too much, or there's not enough out there. And then we created a coping strategy. I need to become more, I need to become less. I need to go along to get along. I need to become better and achieve so I can be worthy. And that core wound is a lie. You're not less. You're not too much. You're not too little. There is more than enough to go around. You brought everything you need with you, like every seed in nature. And we just need to remember that. We don't need to fix ourselves. We need to remember ourselves. We need to remember and rediscover the magnificence and the beauty and the perfection and the perfect idea that our life already is, and then have the courage to come into alignment with it, to be in integrity with ourselves, to no longer be a house divided, trying to survive on Monday and then maybe try to be ourselves on Tuesday and then try to go back to survival on Wednesday. And again, there's no judgment here. It's just an understanding, because in this new, brave new world we're entering, again, if you're trying to be somebody else, if you're trying to go along to get along, if you're just trying to clock in or status quo or survive, you're going to get left behind. You're going to become obsolete in terms of where the value is in the world, right? Especially from a economic standpoint, and because the changes that are happening so fast. But the good news, the really, really good news, is that in the world where everything gets commodified, the one thing that will become the most valuable is individuals who are the most human, who are the most authentic, most connected to their heart, most authentically expressing. Those are the ones that other humans are going to resonate with, that are going to trust, that are going to follow, that are going to buy from, that are going to listen to, that are going to love and want to connect with. Those, the new moat, as I say in a business, what business has a moat around it, meaning what's unique about it that cannot be overcome, that is defensible. Humans, authentic humans, whole new humans is the moat of the future. And those individuals, and this has always been true, we just haven't noticed it. Oprah wasn't doing a talk show. Oprah was doing church and giving a sermon on how to live your best life authentically. Steve Jobs wasn't selling phones. People didn't wait in line all night long to get a phone. They waited in line all night long to answer their calling, to think different. So the greatest leaders, teachers, artists, innovators, change makers, they were being themselves. They had discovered their unique life code, and then they installed it or embedded it or encoded it in their work, in their relationships, in their offerings, products, whatever. And the result was it resonated with millions of people. So again, whether you're an entrepreneur, a coach, a teacher, a healer, an author, a creator, or just a parent, or just want to find the love of your life, if you're anchored in your real soul, your soulmate's going to recognize you. And that's the key for this brave new world.
I 100% agree with you as, from a lot of perspectives, I agree with you. I can't help but wonder, and this might sound tough, but we're in it to figure it out together, right? And you may already have an answer. I'm wondering how you monetize this. And what comes to mind for me is there are a number of artists that I would contend, we were just talking about musicians, for example, and this idea of starving artists, whether it's performance art or sculptors, you name it, that would contend, hey, I am my most authentic truthful self. I can't pay the bills.
Yeah.
So do you see that as a problem?
So they're two different conversations, but we can have them both. So the first conversation, again, is, yes, there are principles, and I teach both of these. I teach people fundamentally. It's been my question my whole life. I've been an artist my whole life. Since I was a little kid, and my dad was like, you can't be an artist. Artists live below the poverty level. You need to become a businessman or a doctor or a lawyer or something. And from that moment, what I wanted more than anything is for my father to see me and to be proud of who I really was. And he meant well. He was trying to protect me. But I had the question arise, how can I be who I really am in this world successfully and sustainably? And I've been asking and answering that question for my whole life. And I've been teaching it for the last 20 plus years, helping people to discover first What is that unique, authentic? Because again, the only gift we really have to give is our presence. That's the one gift. And what's mostly taught out there is how to follow everybody else's blueprint. And you end up with a bunch of empty gift boxes, nothing, no presence inside, or a bunch of shiny cars coming off a conveyor belt with no engine inside. And that's why most people fail, right? So that's what I mean. Steve Jobs wasn't selling a phone. Oprah wasn't selling a talk show. Harley Davidson wasn't selling a motorcycle. And so when your real offering to the world is not your sculpture, not your book, not your workshop, not your program, not your business, not your widget. The real offering is something more essential. And it's a value system. It's a zeitgeist. So that's the first thing. And most people skip all of that. They want to go, well, how am I going to make money? And that's called one of the dragons of creativity. If you step to the how before you really know and define the what, you'll kill the what every time. And believe me, I've been doing this for 25 years. I've seen what destroys people's potential and their purpose. And if you jump to the how and you jump to the money, you'll destroy it without knowing what the what is. And then you have to also understand the what isn't the particular vehicle you're expressing in. Again, it's not the book, it's not the program, it's not the sculpture, it's not the song. That's the way, not the what. And the what is something much more passionate, much more powerful. Again, it's what I call your life code. It starts with the core wound, which is the core lie that you built your life on, but ultimately the core truth that your life really stands for. And that creates a journey. As I like to say, the workshop you've been living is the one you're meant to be giving, right? And so when you understand that, that's step one. Then you get clear on what's the vehicle, the what, and then the way. I'm going to do it in music. I'm going to do it as an artist. I'm going to do it as a sculptor or whatever, podcaster, whatever, a communicator. Now you have a message that is uniquely human, that is authentic, that is embodied with your lived experience and real wisdom. And then, yes, you do have to develop talent to do the thing you're doing. But I'll tell you, if you've got something really to say, even if you're not the best writer in the world, you can still have a best-selling book. If you've got something really to say and you're saying it from that place, even if you're not the best singer or songwriter in the world, you can still have hit songs. I don't want to mention names, but there's lots of successful people out there who are not the best singers and not the best writers.
Yeah. We've got good marketing.
So that's important to understand that. It was Apple really the best computer? I don't know, right? But was Oprah really the best talk show hostess? I don't know, but who she was and what she brought and the passion. So those are the steps in the right order, the what and the way, and then you get to the how. And now the how does require a degree of entrepreneurship, and it does require an understanding of the principles of what it takes to be successful in any domain. And increasingly nowadays, people don't understand just how hard it is to actually live your potential. It's hard enough to know yourself, and it's hard enough to be yourself. And then it's really hard to know yourself and be yourself in a world that is constantly working to convince you not to be yourself, right? So there are specific principles, right? But that's like a whole workshop in and of itself. But I will tell you, when I started and I was broken, I was literally living on a prayer. And when I tapped into those first two pieces that I'm talking about, and I began to just honestly and authentically share from that place, before I had a big list or before I really knew how to market or sell, my work took off because it resonated like a homing beacon. And more than ever right now, increasingly, what I call a handcrafted humanity, that's going to make the difference. Now, we can talk about this, but there's other reasons why we don't succeed, even when we're doing the right things. And that has more to do with unconscious programs and patterns, what I call shadows or values conflicts, where we have the foot on the gas, but we also have a foot on the brake. And we don't know that. We don't realize that we are sabotaging our forward progress because there's a deep pattern or a belief, like a great artist. like when I was an artist and then I had a spiritual opening, I didn't understand why I kept failing and struggling to make money and make ends meet after that, until I discovered that I had developed a values conflict, which was, it's not spiritual to have a lot of money. It's not spiritual. I'm taking from others if I get successful. If I make a sale and ask for what I'm really worth, charge what I'm really worth, et cetera, et cetera. Or my art, what's its real utility? And if I couldn't answer those, and I didn't even know that was going on in me, I didn't realize I was a house divided. I was at odds with myself. This comes back, though, to the first principle: know yourself. Because and again, I can tell you, in every case where I've seen a person at those places, there's an unconscious pattern where they say they want something, but what they're actually doing is not congruent with that. You want to know what you really value and believe? Look at your credit card, your bank account, your conversations, and your calendar, and you'll see that you don't exactly value what you think you do. And that's a good moment of self-awareness.
The truth will set you free, baby.
But at first it'll scare the you-know-what out of you and destroy you. And then
but that's the whole
free.
point. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, but it really is. I feel like, in fact, there's some funny memes on TikTok where it's like, what we think a spiritual awakening will look like. And it's like, we think it's going to be like floating on clouds and relaxing on the beach. And what it really looks like, and it's showing all these people like freaking out. It's like, oh yeah, that tracks.
Exactly.
And then you get on the other side and you're like, wait, it wasn't that bad, was it?
Yeah, it's like having a baby, although I've never had one, but I've been around the mothers of my children, or the mother of my children. And it's like it's the most excruciating but wonderful thing. And then 6 months later, you think it's, or a year later, you're like, let's do it again. Like,
yeah, let's do it again. Yeah, that wasn't that bad.
Remember how painful that was? But yes, it's true. I mean, I say this to people. People don't understand I remember once I prayed for patience, and I was in rush hour traffic for the next 6 months straight, all of a sudden. And I was the angriest, impatient person you have ever met. And I was like, how is this my answer to praying for patience? What is going on, God?
Oh, you are blessed, right?
But what I realized was what happened was everything unlike patience was getting roto-rootered out of my system. By the end of that 6 months, I was driving my car in traffic, blessing everybody, learning, praying. But that's what transformation really looks like. It's when you pray to be something, or you intend, or you desire, or you vision, then all of a sudden a wrecking ball comes in, and you're like, why are you tearing down my house? I just prayed for a bigger house. And it's like, well, the foundation was not very good, so we have to tear it down to the studs, and then we'll rebuild it. And people don't understand. That's what Jesus meant when he said, if you try to save your life, you'll lose it. But if you're willing to lose your life, you'll find it. That's the process of evolution and revolution. There's a lot of releasing and letting go and breaking down and pruning of the tree in order for new life, new growth, and even more abundance. That's the good news.
It's the total good news, and yet it's the worst news ever. Right? I mean, and you talk about, I'm feverishly taking notes over here. So you said toward the beginning, it's simple but not easy. Know thyself, and then essentially be thyself. And you talked about how it's about coming back to ourselves. Derek, how do we do that?
Well, the first thing is you have to make it a priority. We have to be honest. We have to tell the truth first to ourselves, and then to whoever's next in line. But first to ourselves. Like, again, most people know more about their favorite sports team or the favorite focus of gossip nowadays, whatever, the latest conspiracy theory. They know more about that than they do about themselves, who they really are, what's really running you. And, we have this debate in philosophy, free will versus not. And I say there's free will and there's free won't. And most people have free won't. And it's because they're unconsciously being run by these patterns and programs. And so until you have expanded awareness and you have the ability to look in at your actual thinking and your beliefs and the story you're telling, And that takes slowing down. And this is the first evolution, by the way, in the book, which is AI will think for you, think for yourself. And I talk about metacognition. What makes us uniquely human, as far as we know, there's no other animal or creature on this planet anyway, that has the ability to think about what they're thinking about, that has the ability to look down inside and think independently of conditions, independently of their beliefs. I can look at my beliefs and go, oh, look at that strange belief I have. Look at that story. Oh, no wonder I feel this way. I believe X, Y, Z. I can look at that and observe it like gorillas in the mist. And like an archaeologist, I can dig up the unconscious programs and I can now lay them out and go, now I have the beginning of the ability to respond rather than react. That's called responsibility. I have the beginning of choice. I can go, well, if I keep believing that, is that going to get me what I actually want? And if it's a no, I can now choose to put my attention elsewhere and stop feeding that pattern. But most people don't do that. Most people think life is happening to them. They don't understand that it's happening through them. That life is not actually happening to you, and you're not experiencing reality as it is. You're experiencing it as you are through the filters and perceptions and stories and beliefs. So you got to get back in behind the projector and look at the film you're running. And I know some of this sounds cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason, because it's true. You're not experiencing the world. You're experiencing your story about it. You're not experiencing yourself. You're experiencing your story about it. It's not your fault. You didn't even write the story. It was given to you in bits and pieces, and based on your need for survival, safety, support, a meaning, purpose, love, you adopted different characteristics until you built the character and you mapped out the play, and then you started starring in your show. Even if the show was about how life was against you and you're not worthy, whatever, that's still a show you created for survival. But you got to dismantle it, and you got to develop a show, a character, a story that is aligned with the actual life you want, right? Your future self is not in the future. It's right here, but you're not in integrity with it. There's an old saying, dreams don't come true. They already are. You just need to be true to them. And so the life you want, if you want a life of wealth, success, impact, purpose, whatever, you have to ask, well, if I was living that, who would I be? How would I think? How would I feel? There's 4 quadrants of habits: thinking, feeling, being, and doing. And you are always thinking, feeling, being, and doing in a way that is congruent with the story that you believe. And your current conditions are a perfect match for that. And so if you want different and better, you have to use that metacognitive ability to imagine, if I was living that better life, who would I be? And if you're honest, you'll discover I would think differently about some things. I would think differently about myself. I would focus my attention on different things. And where you focus, that's where you create. I would feel differently on a regular basis. I would do different things. But what we're mostly saying is, well, I will do that when I feel differently. When I feel less afraid, then, right? When I feel more certain, then. No, it will never happen. Because whatever you're waiting for, you're weighing it down and holding it back. And whatever's missing is what you're not circulating, because it's all in you. The acorn doesn't go, well, I'll be an oak tree when I see some oak, or I'll be an oak tree when I, I'm not afraid of heights anymore. I just want to be a great nut. It's like my shell's cracking and falling apart. I need to fix my shell, pull my shell back together. It's falling apart. The acorn doesn't do any of that, right? The oak is in the acorn, and it must let things crack and fall apart. It must dig its roots, and it must allow what's in it to come out. And it doesn't matter whether you're sad, mad, scared, afraid, you had a bad history. Right now, if you get to know what's really in you and you have the courage to start being it, shining it, sharing it, circulating it, expressing it, no matter what you think or feel about it. Then you will activate the feelings you've been waiting for. When you act it, you activate it. This is where the word pretend comes from. It's pretense. Children act out what it's like to be a parent and an adult. That's not just child's play. That's them activating and building neural pathways. And they're using their mirror neurons. This is all evolutionary. But then we forget how to be children. We forget that we need to keep pretending, pretense. We need to keep acting out. We need to keep playing into our better self. We suddenly get very responsible and very serious. And now I got to make a living. I can't be playing. No more child's play. I got to be serious. I can't just be myself. How do you make money doing that? I can't just be fully authentic and speak my truth. People aren't going to buy that. And now you're lost. And this is why it says you must be a child to enter heaven. You have to come back to that innocence. And again, I know it's hard. I know it's scary. I've spent 25 years running the test. And I've also been through some of the most difficult times anybody can imagine. A loss of a fortune stolen from me, divorce after 20 some years, disease, wife with cancer, loss of a child. So I know from pain and suffering and tragedy and loss and fear and challenges. And I'm telling you, when you understand and apply what we're talking about today and what I talk about in this book, step by step, no matter what you've been through, no matter what you're facing, you have something in you the world didn't give you, and so the world can't take it away. And when you tap back into that and you commit to that, no matter what, nothing can stop you from beginning to emerge and to blossom and to flourish. And I'll say one other thing. There's only one job that only you have been given and nobody else on this planet. And that is to be the gardener of that seed in your soul or the keeper of that flame in your heart. That's one job. God is like, I gave you one job, kid, one job. And what are you doing over here messing with everybody else's jobs? I gave you one job. And it's know yourself, be yourself, serve that truth in you. That's the key. And that's also where the root of disciple comes from. To be a disciple, discipline. That's where the first commandment comes from. Love God with all your heart and soul and might. It means love the divine within you. And Jesus never said God outside of you. Nobody ever taught that. It was a misinterpretation if we only got that right. It's the divinity in you. And then once you start to blossom and you have some fruits and flowers and some cool stuff to share, now you love your neighbor as yourself. Now you pour all of that in service of helping others to know who they are and to be who they are. That's the first two commandments. And that's the virtuous cycle, the way of the sacred union, where you are serving the divine in you first. You do not give away your roots. You only give away your fruits. For all of you people out there that have been stepping over yourself and your needs to take care of everybody else because you believe that's how you would survive, stop it. You have to take care of yourself, fill yourself up, and then you have to give it away. And that's the virtuous cycle that leads to abundance, leads to resilience, leads to confidence, leads to fulfillment, real joy, not just temporary happiness that's based on a condition.
Oh my God, that's
that was a mouthful, but it had to come out.
Yeah, no, so powerful. Yeah, no, I feel it. My energy body is just zinging. I feel that truth, and on the one hand, it's like, gosh, that kind of radical courage you're asking for of everybody. It hits hard because that's what you're asking for. I mean, that is the most radical thing you can do in this day and age, a time where everybody wants, it's sort of like conditioned to be just enough like everybody else to belong, but just slightly different, right? And because of social media, like, I feel like there is just even a greater pressure to conform and to belong.
Except the ones that really break out are not doing that. But it's tricky because, again, the ego is very savvy. It's had millennia to practice tricking us, and it's not doing it maliciously. It's just an identity machine creator, but the identity creating machine. But being authentic doesn't mean just being disruptive or just being contrarian or just being a skeptic or just being a Pollyanna or just seeing the good in everything or just seeing the. We have to be very mindful, because what we do is we end up seeing what we think is authenticity, and then we create another concept, another model, another matrix that we get trapped in. That's not authenticity. The authenticity doesn't look like anything. It's the real knowing, right? If you looked at a rose being a rose, you would say that's authentic. But if you took that model and applied it to a daffodil, you would have a very bad daffodil. If you took a pine tree and applied that authenticity to an apple tree, you would have one bad apple. So you have to understand it's not easy, but it is simple, but it requires commitment to really knowing yourself, and then knowing, again, what does it feel like when I'm being really truly myself, when I'm being transparent, when I'm being honest, authentic, vulnerable, which all are going to be superpowers in the new world when there's no more secrets and, et cetera. Well, you could, if you start to be in that experiment, you'll notice, oh, I feel less contracted. I feel more expanded. And what does it feel like when I'm telling a lie or lying to myself or others, not overtly or maliciously, perhaps? I'm just living from a survival mechanism. I'm trying to pipe down or hide my light under a bushel or whatever the case may be. It feels contracted. You start to feel a contraction. Your breath gets shallower or faster. You start to notice what it feels like. There's contraction. Now, contraction in and of itself isn't bad, but you can start to tell what it feels like in your body when you're not being authentic. And even if you don't have all the words yet, you could, if for those of you that are not word people like me, perhaps, you might be more somatic people. And you might be like, well, I can't think like you do, Derek, or talk like you do, Derek, or I don't understand all these things you've studied, Derek, and I don't have time to study all the greatest leaders and success stories of ancient history or whatever. Yes, I agree. You don't have to. You already know what it feels like to be authentic and true to yourself. You just have to remember that's what a child did before the child got wounded and told they couldn't just trust that, right? You already have an inner GPS system, the God positioning system, the good positioning system. It's already in you. And if you just slow down and just take simple experiments, take a day where you're just going to notice as things arise and you have a response, does that response create a contraction? Or does that response, do you notice yourself expanding? And it may take a while to notice, but you might be very shocked to notice how often you're in contraction. And then if you take some time, step aside, sit down, take some notes, turn on your voice memo, whatever, and really, really take a moment and feel, what am I feeling in this moment? What if that feeling could have a voice? What would it say? And you'll start to hear things like, oh my God, they think I'm stupid, or oh, that was really dumb, or I can't really say that, or God, I really don't want to have to say yes again. I wish I could just walk away. You'll start to hear the real voice. And then as you are granted time, start writing that down, start tracking. What is the story and the program that I'm running? And that's the beginning of wisdom, and that's the beginning of freedom. Because the more you bust that story, and you can see it rather than react to it, you start starving it and it starts dissolving and losing its power. And then you can focus on, well, what do I really want? If I really trusted that I was supported, that I was worthy, that I was safe, what would I want? What would I do? How would I treat myself? How would I show up today? And then start writing that down, and then just start taking simple actions. And as you do those two things, I promise you, over the next 7 to 14 days, you're gonna see yourself in your life radically different. And you'll already be ahead of the game because most people will never do that. And, and then we'll go from there.
Well, I thank you so much for that. It just resonates so powerfully with me. A couple of things I wanted to add to that or ask about. One is, first of all, this is a statement. Very few people are willing to do that, as you said. And so, hey, to my amazing audience, you guys are special. Everything that Derek is talking about now as we speak and in his beautiful book.
Get the book.
Get the book, Whole New Human, on sale today.
I also created AI tools for you guys. We can talk about that.
I've got questions about that.
Do this much faster as well.
Totally. And I have questions about that. But I say that because I think a lot of people listening right now, especially those who don't use AI very much or use it like Google and feel kind of panicked. It's like you're an N of one, right? And if you do this courageous, radical work, it's going to work for you. And I know because I've done it in my own life, right? And I think some of you listening will go, this doesn't feel practical. It is the most freaking practical thing, with or without AI, is what I say. And when I think about, again, my own life and your life and the people who I know who have gone on that journey to know themselves and to be themselves, with or without the external trappings of success, these people, myself, and I think I can say that about you too, Derek, love our lives. And yes, as a practical matter, we got to make money, right? We got to, and this is so in that sense, the book is practical, but I also feel like as an entrepreneur and a leader who, and of course, a mom and so forth, I put so much of my time and effort into building a business. And as a practical matter, to me, one of the most practical things you can do is love your life and to have joy, right?
Yes.
Well, and I just say this because so much it's like, well, what job am I going to get when when AI comes for it? And you talk about how there's going to be something like a 60% job loss in a handful of years. That loss has already started. I mean, you can't help.
Over 300 million jobs lost, estimated by, I think it was a Harvard study. It could have been an MIT study, but.
Yeah. So these job losses are coming. And so I know a lot of people will get.
It's already happening too. It's not just.
It is already. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's like every other day, Wall Street Journal, New York Times are reporting how major companies are laying people off in droves. And so
for our kids, college students for the first time ever are graduating and they can't get work, even Harvard grads, because all those beginning levels and middle levels are being removed and replaced by people with AI or AI alone. And so for those of you that are parents and that care about your kids' future or just care about our children's future in general, because the children are the future. And if this next generation grows up disillusioned and disappointed and out of work, and the men end up in the basement with video games and relationships with AI chatbots, which is already happening, we're going to have a very scary future for all of us, slightly older people. We're going to have a hard time. So we have to all be very conscious of that for our own children and for our clients and our colleagues and everything. This is going to impact everybody, and it already is. And so, yes.
Well, and I want to speak to what, the elephant in the room, again, back to this feeling of not even feeling of being terrified. Of course, terror is a feeling, I realize, but the fact of there is terror being experienced by many. And I just want to say to my audience, you don't have to be terrified, right? That is a choice. And I know somebody's going to want to smack me across the face. But I'm picking up what you're putting down, Derek, where it's like, you have a choice, like you really do, right? And you don't have to be part of the 60%. You have that life code inside of you. And I say that, and again, people say, well, this isn't very practical. It is freaking practical. When you believe in yourself and you're willing to deprogram, not be deprogrammed. Nobody is ever deprogrammed. You deprogram yourself. And it just reminds me, when you're giving these practical ways that in 7 to 10 days, we can all be a little more authentic and a little more comfortable in our own bodies. how easy it is for most of us to seek escape, whether it's through alcohol, through drugs, through shopping, through Netflix.
This is full of tequila right now.
Hey, bring it, dude. No, but I say this sincerely because it's easy to sit there and doom scroll, and we all make fun of it. But the truth is, it is escapism. And if every day we start the day and we're rushing the kids to school, and then we're rushing to work, and we're rushing through our exercise routine if we even do one, and then we're rushing to get dinner ready, and then we feel bad because we blew off that text or that phone call, and then we're just like, I'm trying to find some relief, and we're doom scrolling. I mean, I think I'm describing most, especially working parents, that is our lives. Who said that? Oh, there was some really funny quote about some Bob Proctor, I think, about something about how we're something about, I can't even remember, but something about avoiding death, or I'm butchering it anyway. Forget that. No, but it's like we're just. It feels like a lot of going through the motions. And I don't know that I'm not articulating this as well as I mean to, but I feel like, to your point about, if we're going to be ourselves and, know ourselves and be ourselves, it's going to mean a cessation of all the things that fucking distract us, like social media, like all these things that tell us how fucking busy. And I'm getting animated right now because I did that to myself. Right. And it's so easy to continue to drink the Kool-Aid of how busy we are and how much we need to do and how much we need to accomplish. Next thing you know, a decade goes by, or however many years. And it's like, what the frick? Like, my nervous system is shot. And that I guess my point is, this formula doesn't work in the age of AI if you want to thrive.
If it ever worked.
It never really worked,
right,
but you could get by doing a job that now AI will do. So I feel like what you're saying is taking me a long time.
With it. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, it's like you have to choose being awake. You have to choose being really freaking intentional in addition to being really courageous. And so, yeah, it means a lot of those things that were distracting, we can't afford that anymore. The people that really want to thrive and at least have good jobs, as a practical matter, like, you can't be asleep anymore, or you are going to be marginalized, is how it feels to me.
Yeah, you can't go along to get along. You can't follow the status quo anymore. You can't follow everybody else's blueprint. This book is not giving you my blueprint. It's really giving you yours. It's helping you discover yours, as are the AI tools that I developed. And I'm not a Luddite. I'm not anti-tech. I'm just very much pro-human technology. And as everybody's investing $1 trillion in outer tech, I think it's time that we invested more in our inner technology. And that's the key, right? And there's a balance here, to be very, very practical. I'm not saying that I'm not ignorant or naive to just how hard life can feel and be. Believe me, as I already said, even, the last few months, I've been working probably 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, almost in many cases, with building a new launch in this book and everything. And I know how to work hard, but I also somehow still manage to get about 3 hours of self-care in every day. And I also spend time with my family and my wife every day, and my kid, or talk to my kid, or go see my mom for dinner, and hang out with my friends. And, so I still am able to do all the things. So there is a way, but it doesn't start like, I'm just going to go from where I am and just trash everything and completely change my life by tomorrow. It's the small wins that lead to the big rewards, right? Like a person who needs to get in shape, and they don't need to start a marathon club. They might just need to get up and walk around the block every day. But that might start with, today, I'm going to get my shoes ready to go, my walking shoes, and put them by the door, and I'm going to walk to the door and back. And that's it. Great. Tomorrow, I'm going to walk out of the door and to the end of my driveway. That's enough. Get my mail, come back. But then the next day, I'm going to walk to the end of the block, and then turn around and come back. And then the next day I'm going to walk around the block. And by the end of a week, you're walking around the block and it's kind of normal now. And so it's important that we find our entry point. Again, if you just do one push-up, good. That's more than a lot of people do. If you just sit down and spend 5 minutes, 3 minutes, or what I call the 1 minute mystic, 1 minute, just feeling yourself, just breathing, if you just timed and set up thing to go off 1 minute per every hour or two, you all got 1 minute, I promise you. You just reduced your screen time by 1 minute. And you just did that a few times a day for the next week. It would start to be life-changing. I'm telling you what I know. And then by the end of a week, I could sit here for a couple minutes now, a few minutes. And then by the end of a couple weeks, what'll happen is a vacuum is created and you'll start to be like, you might even have an insight, an aha. You might find yourself crying and catharsis and healing happening. I've seen it over and over again, just starting with a minute a few times a day. And then, because everyone's like, I don't have the time. It's like, girl, you don't have the time not to do it, right? But I understand. Believe me, I know what busy looks like. And so I was building a business and being a parent and it's, I've done that. So, but it doesn't have to be all or nothing. That's a stall tactic of the ego. It says it's all or nothing. It says, well, I can't go work out for an hour, so I just won't do it today. No, that's your ego talking. Drop and give me 5 push-ups, do 5 jumping jacks, do some stretching, walk around the living room and up and down the stairs. Great, you did 5 minutes. You did something. Oh, I don't have time to really write and work on my new book. I need an hour, 3 hours, blah, blah, blah. I got to clear a schedule. Sit down for 5 frickin' minutes and start writing about it. Write 100 words. Every single one of you can do that. You could do that every day. And guess what? By the end of a month, you would have what is that? 3,000 words? Is that right? Yeah. 3,000 words. That's a full chapter of something. So the point is, don't overload and overwhelm yourself. If you try to take on too much, you'll do nothing and then even less than nothing. So you have to understand and be kind and be compassionate, but you must do something. And you must start to do something in the direction of the life you really want and a little bit less of the things that are going in the wrong direction with consistency.
Yeah, I love that. And it's just, permission to do just a little, like that feels so good. And let's face it, we all pay a tax for procrastination. We pay a tax when we don't invest in ourselves. It's a physical tax. It's physical, a psychic
mental,
tax.
Emotional, financial.
Yeah, you can't.
And by the way, procrastinate, being busy is one of the greatest covert acts of procrastination.
And self-abandonment in a lot of ways.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? And because we're outsourcing, we're busy, implying that we don't have the agency and sovereignty within us. We're busy producing what? For somebody else, for some outside metric? Because when we're really pouring into ourselves and living a life where we're thriving, I don't think we usually say, oh, I'm so busy.
Yeah.
Right?
Sometimes you
that
do,
becomes a mental...
I stopped using that word just purposely. I don't do busy. I don't do overwhelm. I don't do depressed.
Well, because it's a mental construct.
Exactly.
And it's a crutch of sorts. And it's a you use the word covert, which is exactly right. It's a very bit of covert subterfuge from the ego that so many of us fall prey to, right? We're so busy. Or I'm overwhelmed, so or I'm, and again, it doesn't mean we don't feel those feelings. I would never deny anybody their feelings. It's just understanding your feelings aren't telling you the truth. But it's a rationalization, right? And it's a way of staying with these excuses, right? I'm too busy, so looks like I'm not going to exercise. I'm too busy, so it looks like I'm not going to write those 5 pages. I'm too busy, blah, 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 make your excuse, right? And it's like, you said it really perfectly a few minutes ago. If you don't have a minute, Joe Dispenza says this too, if you don't have 20 minutes to
you need to
meditate every day, You need more. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so I have a few burning
Or
questions.
if you can't afford to invest in yourself in the thing that matters most, then you absolutely can't afford not to. And when you must, you will. And so that's why we often have to have crisis and be brought to our knees before we act. That's part of the human condition. That's why we seek comfort and convenience, and comfort and convenience kills us slowly. And so we have to design our life in a way where we are consciously and intentionally doing what matters most, doing what we want most, becoming who we want most in the areas and ways that is uncomfortable. And then we get comfortable in the discomfort. And we don't wait, as I said earlier, to feel good, to feel not scared, to not be tired, to be confident, to be certain, to have time. None of that just doesn't matter anymore. It's a false model of reality. It is not how reality works. And we discovered that we are made in the image and likeness of God, which means we have the same creative capacity as life does to create out of nothing. So I have no time. Great. Let me make some. Boom. I just created time. I have no energy. Great. Let me do something energetic and active. Bam. Where did that energy come from? Where it was all along. I don't feel confident. Great. Let me write and act or get up and do this thing like I would if I was confident. Bam. I feel joyful and this is fun. Yeah, I might fall on my face, but hey, how does a baby learn to walk? By falling. If you stop the baby from falling, the baby would always be crawling. So this is how we evolved, but we just forgot. And ego and the machine of the world has conditioned us to believe it shouldn't hurt, it shouldn't be hard. We need to seek comfort, distract, entertain to death, Netflix and chill. Nothing against Netflix. I love a good show too, but it will not lead to real joy, real peace, real fulfillment, and real abundance. And so, but knowing ourselves and being ourselves will. And again, one other thing about nature is nature, hear this, ladies and gentlemen, nature will never grow a seed in any way against its nature. So now think about that. You have an acorn. If an acorn was self-aware and it's like, those apple trees are really doing well these days, I think I'm going to try to be an apple tree. That acorn will stay a nut and then become squirrel food. Nature can never grow a seed against its nature. Now, what that looks like is two things. If you're trying to be what you're not, no matter the excuse, you don't understand, Derek, it's too hard. You can't make money this way. My parents won't like it. My husband will leave me, or my kids will make fun of me, or whatever. It doesn't matter. If you're going against your nature, you are like a tree cut off, a branch cut off from the tree, and you are stagnating and you are struggling and you are suffering, and it's going to get worse. Period, full stop. As Brene Brown said, unexpressed creativity, your real potential, is not benign. It metastasizes, and it leads to guilt and shame and pain and rage and depression. And Jesus said in the Gospel of Thomas, if you bring forth what's in you, what you bring forth will save you. But if you do not bring forth what's in you, it will destroy you. So it doesn't matter what your excuse is. Please just know it's a principle. Like, well, I didn't have time to wire my electricity right. Nobody cares. If you use that plug, you're going to burn your house down. It's a principle. So you got to get rid of that. What's the principle? Now, here's the other thing. If you've been praying or visualizing or meditating or reading books or listening to podcasts like this, you're activating your life force, your real potential. And so what does it look like when something tries to stop nature that has already been activated? Have you ever put a sidewalk or a wall over the roots of a tree? If you have, you've had to repair that or replace that wall or sidewalk. When you go against your true nature, but you've also activated it somewhere along the way, as that life tries to break through you, it's going to look like pain and crisis and suffering. But that is life trying to come through you. And your chronic areas of suffering are where you are chronically trying to hold yourself and survive in a world that is too damn small for you now. And you need to be willing to be those roots and just knock that freaking wall down, tear up that sidewalk, and create a new path that fits you. That's what's going on.
Yeah, listening to you, I had this epiphany. It's almost like AI is mandating a radical reimagining of humanity. Okay,
you just got the big idea behind it.
I got the big idea, and if 60%
it's AI is not against us, it is literally exposing us and revealing us and forcing us for the greatest inflection point in our evolution, should we choose it. We must become who and what we really are to survive it.
That's it. I mean, it's like an epiphany,
like the whole thesis behind the book.
I got it. I felt it. I'm activated. I'm like that I'm a nut.
Hence,
my kids
a whole
like
new human.
Yeah, no, but it really is. I mean, when you think about what you were describing, Derek, with how often, until it gets bad enough, very few of us are motivated to change. And that is what is happening. It is going to be really, really uncomfortable, even tragic for a lot of people. It doesn't have to be for everybody. I mean, right? Just saying. And so when it comes to people who are willing to answer the call, who are willing to to wake up to themselves now, I mean, there are still going to be jobs and a whole bunch of new exciting things are going to happen. But your point's the right one, which is the things that machines can do, machines are going to do. So what can a machine not do? Boom, that's your book. Okay, I just found the quote from Bob Proctor. I'm like, so what am I saying? Most people, you're going to like this. It's worth it. Most people tiptoe through life hoping to arrive safely at death. I mean, that's good. Right? And now, I mean, that worked up until now, maybe, right? But it's not going to work anymore, given how the age of AI is so disruptive. Okay, I want to ask you one or two.
There are choices. I just want to say, I mean,
sure.
You could become the digital Amish. You could go off grid, and some people have, and just don't go all the way off grid like the Unabomber Ted Kaczynski. Don't go that far off. But his manifesto literally was predicting everything that's happening now. Mm-hmm. But so this isn't like, it's okay if you don't want to be engaged with technology. Then you just have to realistically consider what's the plan. I mean, Brave New World, you could become the savages. You become the people that diligently hold on to their humanity. And what's interesting is even this younger generation of my child, they are starting to eschew digital stuff, and they are becoming more interested in what I call handcrafted humanity and what are called third places and real community. And this is the new currency. The new currency, other than chips and energy, is going to be community and authenticity and real humanity. That's the new gold and silver and Bitcoin rush. It's going to be humanity, authenticity, and community. And so you want to double down on those, even if you're a teacher, author, podcaster, whatever. People are going to want to experience live and also in person. And so that's great. And for some people, they'll want to really move into that direction. And that's fine. In fact, it might even be a gold mine. You might just go off grid, start a community, have some cool stuff there. And pretty soon you could monetize that, as we talked about earlier, in a way that's way more successful than a lot of things that work today. But so you have to follow your truth and your heart and your authenticity. But if you want to be in this modern world and you want to be valuable and irreplaceable and relevant, then it really behooves you to understand the emerging technologies, but not to give your agency away to them, to use them to get to know yourself better and to scale your humanity, your authenticity, your true purpose not merely to use them to do all the work until one day you look around and you become like one of those characters in Wall-E that has lost your agency and your creativity and your ability. So there's a right balance, and it's going to be different for everybody. But everybody's got to make some decisions. Everybody's got to decide and prepare what's the path they're going to go down, and how are they going to future-proof their life and their work and their well-being and their wealth for them and their loved ones. Everybody's going to have to decide that.
Well, for sure. And I'm just listening to you. I'm going to give a shout out. By the way, we have the same publisher, the the Atria division of Simon & Schuster. Shout out there. No, but in all seriousness, really consider buying this book for your graduate, or if you have a friend who, you're invited to a graduation party, whether it's high school or college. This book, I think, is going to, it's relevant for everybody, but I would think especially people at those transition points in their lives when they're starting their career, or they're, thinking about college and so forth. Something that really helps them as almost like a Sherpa into this new age, to me, feels very relevant. So this is going to be on my graduation. A lot of cash, and a little bit of cash, okay, a lot of cash, and Derek's book. Okay, I have a burning question about
or
AI
if you're
companion.
An artist, or you're an author, or you're a teacher, or you want to know, how to make your work relevant, or you're in a company and AI is coming, you want to know, how do I keep my job and even get a promotion? There's a way to do all of that when you understand how to, first of all, know what is invaluable about you, and then also how to make these evolutions and how to use the technology to become more yourself rather than to outsource yourself. And the AI tools I built that I'm giving away, they cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars to learn and develop over the years, this understanding and this research. And I put it all into these tools where you have your own personal focus coach, your own personal evolution coach. You pretty much have me in your back pocket, and you're going to get that for free, when as well as other trainings and live coaching with me, all of that for free when you buy just this book. And so it's going to help you immediately pour all of your concerns, all of your thoughts. Here's my job, or here's my kid situation, and it's going to help you develop and define what is your unique path of evolution or growth, so that you are future-proof. So it's going to personalize it to you. It embodies the content in the book and of my teachings, and it's going to help you create a personalized plan, and it's going to help you know specifically what patterns and beliefs and stories you're running that are not congruent or aligned with the life you want. So if you don't have to wait days, weeks, months, or years. You get the book, whether it's $14 on Kindle or free if you just get a credit on Audible. And I'm sure you have a link there. They can go to my website, see the information, plug in their information, and get access to these tools. And literally today, start getting clarity that normally would take you weeks, months, years, or never. That's my guarantee.
Right. Because you have invested so much, clearly, and you come from such a place. One of the reasons I love speaking with you, Derek, you're fun and cute and, just like a genius, but like you have so much empathy. And I feel like that is really important for anybody going on this journey.
I hope I can translate that empathy to people and help them get it without having to go through suffering as much as I have. So
yeah, no,
but listen, come at a cost,
Yeah,
But, yes.
but that, I just want to say this, and you touched on this. To change it means to face some discomfort. That's part of it. And I feel like for me personally, when I quit resisting the fear of being uncomfortable, it gets so much easier. I can collapse into the discomfort in a way that makes it a lot less painful, right? It's just like changing these old patterns and habits. It comes with discomfort. That's okay. That's part of being human. And you get to the other side of it, and it's like, oh, hallelujah.
You just said something really important that I think we should touch on briefly and you definitely represent this. And yes, empathy, compassion, and all of that, but it has to start with ourselves, right? Self-compassion, self-empathy. but there's something about the kind of community that I've created and the kind of people I surround myself with. And what I think is so important is in order to get to this next level, we have to be around people where we can practice being ourselves, where we can let down the guards and the armor and the pretense and the masks and the costumes and just frickin' fall apart, or get up on a table and dance with a lampshade on your head if that's your freak. I like to joke, it was a typo. The meek shall inherit the earth. It's really the freak shall inherit the earth. And so, hey, you can get your freak on, or you can freak out, or you can freak in and let your freak flag fly, and you can fall apart. You know, for men to fall apart and be truly vulnerable, but also for a lot of women who have taken on too much masculine because they've had to take care of themselves because the men are a little cray-cray and the world is a little insane, and they've had to take too much burden on themselves. We're all have taken on some level, too much burden. We're either hiding or we're hustling, grinding ourselves down to the bone. And to be around people where you can just let go and be held, if not literally, then energetically, and cry or laugh or say what you really think and feel without judgment. Dress however you want. You know, if you see me in some of my live events, you know, I'll come out and dance like Magic Mike and then dress like a pimp in a big fur coat. And like, hey, it's all permission. Permission to play, permission to cry, permission to be authentic, and ultimately to get free, and then practice, and then go out into the world where everybody may not be quite as compassionate and non-judgmental.
Yeah.
You know?
But I really want to jump in there, and I want to make sure we get through our speed round. When I think about that in particular, Derek, like I think of in a company, and again, this is how you AI proof yourself, folks, for real, being authentic. And if you're somebody who can show up in a meeting with in your true authentic self and be emotionally attuned, and you talk about the importance of emotional intelligence, and you become irreplaceable when you are that person in organizations that is able to connect the dots, to synthesize, hey, I got this. Let me, as a human, right? And I don't mean to like lecture here, but it is so important. And we can only do that. I mean, honestly, I've become such a better leader. Like some of my team is like, wait, what happened to you? You're like so fun now, and effective and all those things, because I've done so much of my own inner work. So when you do your inner work, you show up in a way that really is invaluable in whatever organization, as well as your relationships and so forth. So I just really wanted to call out and add to what you're saying, that it has so much practical value and monetizable value in the world. You become indispensable when you are somebody who can show up and be empathetic and useful on teams. Even if you can't like really name what those qualities are or name what the exact job description is, it's like, oh, you're somebody that's showing up in problem solving with a smile and a lampshade on your head. Yes. Snap. I mean, like you're getting promoted.
Part of it's the soft skills, but they're not but the soft skills are hard. And that's why people don't do them as much. But also what Stephen Covey calls being the trim tab, which is the trim tab is that smaller rudder on the big rudder, like in the water. It can't move. It's too big, too much volume. So it needs a smaller rudder. When the smaller rudder moves, it moves the big rudder. And so the person like that shows up with agency, proactive, listening, generous, attentive, willing to go the extra mile, like, and truly connected and caring, they get noticed, they get elevated, they become the trim tab. And those are, this is the story of Joseph and the coat of many colors. He was thrown into prison and he was blackmailed, and over he kept just getting, what on. And he just would show up and give his best, give his all. He had a vision for life and for himself, and he just took one step at a time, and he was attentive and he listened. He was a good person. And everywhere he went, he was elevated eventually to the highest stature because of that, until eventually he was in prison and he had a dream and he was able to interpret the Pharaoh's dream to a Pharaoh's like cook who was in prison. Just because Joseph, he wasn't trying to be ambitious, he was just doing what you just said. The Pharaoh heard about it, and the Pharaoh made him his right-hand man, and Joseph became the second most powerful person in the world. So that's a story about what you just talked about, which is if we just show up fully and with those skills, there's a natural process by which other humans want to be around us and want to elevate us and want our support. And we are in one of the greatest opportunities perhaps of our lifetime. We're not just in your place of business, but millions of people on the planet are going to be looking for those kinds of people that they can trust, that they can turn to, that they can get support from or buy from or whatever from. So this is where those soft skills and these qualities are now no longer something you do at a retreat at Esalen or Omega Institute. These are things now that must become central in our lives.
Yeah, so practical. Okay, we're gonna do a speed round. I'm gonna challenge you today, Derek Rydall.
Speaking single syllables.
30 to 60 seconds, baby. I need my gong. Hannah, where's the gong? Oh, it's going to be hard for you, but I know you're up for it. I know you're up for it. Oh. See, I like it when I challenge you. You're like, sister, you don't know.
He's
you
just
don't know
a
this
man
guy.
after all. He just wants to compete and win.
Exactly. See how that worked? Okay. You write about reclaiming intuition, but many people don't trust theirs anymore. What's one concrete way someone can rebuild intuition? You got 30 to 60 seconds. Go.
That's not fair. That's like a super compound, deep question.
You're living 5 seconds just went.
Yes. No, the best way is just practice. Just notice where you have to make a decision and decide that the next week, every decision you have to make, you're going to first check in and see what's the answer in your body versus your head. And you're going to start making some of those decisions. And only in hindsight will you be able to see how it worked out, didn't work out. And you'll start to calibrate what it feels like to act from the truth of your body, of your intuition. And you'll eventually get really good at it. But it just takes practice and running that experiment.
I think you just did it. Well done. Okay, let's see if you can do it again. We're one for one. Exactly. Okay, for parents and educators. Okay, now you're taking time away from your next one, buddy. For parents and educators, what should we prioritize teaching kids before teaching them how to use AI well? And are any parents or many educators even teaching kids AI well? Another compound sentence, but I know you can handle it.
Yes, the first thing is we need to take them back to the fundamental practice of the mystery schools and the great tribes, which is they need to be spending time getting to know themselves, doing things that get them to understand themselves, learning how to communicate, connect with others for real, for themselves, and then show them how to use AI as a mirror, not as a thing to outsource. Pour in what they're learning about themselves. Teach them to ask questions. Answers lead to getting stuck. Questions, the question is the quest you're on. Teach them how to ask better questions, and they'll become not only master prompt engineers of AI, but they'll learn how to go on the quest where they can discover who they are more and more.
I love that. And I have to add on to this. It's not part of your time, so don't get upset.
You get all the time in the world.
I know. I'm going to give myself 15 seconds. No, but I love that because to me, asking great questions is a superpower, and you have to have a degree of clarity and a wherewithal to ask great questions. I think that is one of the underrated superpowers
and
to learn.
And
so I love that you said that.
By doing it. You only get good at it by doing it. You got to just keep asking questions. That's the quest you're on. That's the quest you're on. Then you get an answer. And then did that answer lead you closer to the object or objective? Ask another question. Ask a deeper one. Ask a better one.
Yep. Okay. Next in our rapid round, your work emphasizes reclaiming qualities AI can't replicate, like creativity, intuition, and heart-led agency. What practices support that?
Well, I mean, it's these all connect. They're all like really multi-dimensional ways to look at the same problem and the same solution, which is knowing yourself more. If you really know what you care about, what breaks your heart, what lights you up, what blows your dress up, what illuminates you, excites you, these are all telling you who you are. And if you create from that place, speak from that place, align your life from that place, you're not only going to be more fulfilled, more on an adventure, but what you do and create and express will resonate. You're a tuning fork. And when your thoughts, feelings, desires, and actions are in alignment, where two or three are gathered in agreement, there I am. You become aligned, you become congruent, you're not a house divided, and that resonates. Your instrument resonates, and people will be attracted to that, opportunities, etc. Whatever you're doing.
Amen. Amen. Okay. I think you're 3 for 3 now. I'm impressed. Okay. A couple more. You touched on this a moment ago. You reframe AI as a mirror, revealing what we've been outsourcing from ourselves for decades. Things like intuition, creativity, connection, and meaning. What do you mean by this?
Yeah, well, AI is a mirror collectively in the sense that it's built on the body of human knowledge. And that's why left to its own devices without prompting, it's not very good at a lot of creative endeavors. It's cliche, it's tropey. So in one hand, and also it can be prompted in a way that it says, terrible authoritative people are great and they're gods, because it's built on the base knowledge of humanity. But it's also a mirror in that, like I said, if used properly, mirror, mirror on my screen, who am I really? Like it's the Snow White thing. So it can be used as a mirror to pattern recognize where you have blind spots. That's one of the greatest opportunities. Use it as a mirror to know yourself and to tell it what you really think and feel. I even use it when I'm in an argument with my wife, and I'll give it both sides and let it debate it and help me understand my point of view, where I've got blind spots, etc. So that's how it's a mirror. It's a mirror of humanity. And how we treat it and train it will determine if it grows up to be a superhero or a supervillain.
Ooh, I love that. All right, you're 4 for 4. We got one last one. Why? Oh, okay. We're going to talk about privacy in the age of AI. How is being radically transparent the best path forward?
Well, first of all, because they're going to, in a world where there's no more secrets, there's no more secrets. So, and the most freeing and liberating place to be is where you have nothing to hide, where your personal and your public self are the same self. It's what your secrets make you sick. When you're a house divided, you have no structural integrity. And so you have to use all your energy to hold it together and to keep things tracked. And there's a deep sense of stress you're always living with that something is going to be revealed. But when you live in the truth really does set you free. Again, at first, it'll scare the crap out of you and anger you and destroy parts, and but truly, then you're free. But you think you're getting away with something, you're not. If you're living a lie to yourself, if you're playing multiple lives, you're creating tension and stress and dis-ease in various ways, and you're limiting your capacity. Being transparent also doesn't mean you have to share everything. It just means you know you're living in integrity. And if anything came out, you're like, yeah, that's me. I'm not hiding it. It's just none of your business, but I'm not hiding it.
Yeah, I love that. And it really goes to the heart of our discussion, back to know thyself and be thyself, right? And so often
everything will go back to that.
Yeah, and it can feel terrifying when we don't have the courage to do so. But that's the whole point of all of this is going through that journey. I mean, it is the hero's journey after all.
One way or the other, you're going to have to face your courage muscle. You can't escape that. Nobody escapes that requirement to face doing really, really hard things in the face of fear, which is what courage means. And it might just be the death, your literal death or somebody else's, but nobody escapes it. The question is, everybody is going to eventually have to get on the field and face their biggest fears and see if they have courage and strength to hold it. The question is, are you practicing? Because courage is when you know you need to do something or stop doing something, and the fear and the distance between actually taking action. If it's really, really wide, that means you have no courage. The closer that gap is, the more courage you have. I know I have to speak the truth and I'm doing it. That's maximum courage. I know I have to share this or create this and put it out there and I'm doing it. That's maximum courage. It's okay if there's a gap, but that shows you your journey of building more and more courage. Courage is not fearlessness. It's I'm afraid, but I know what needs to be done or not be done anymore, and I'm going to do it. That's heroic.
Amen. And it gets easier as you do it.
Because you build the muscle. You build the muscle.
And
it doesn't necessarily mean you're absent of fear, though. People need to understand. I'm scared a lot. And I'm like, hello, fear. How are you doing today? You want to get in back? And here's the iPad, watch some cartoons, but we're going anyway, right? It's like, I'm scared all the time. And things are hard all the time. But so what? Yeah, the fear is showing you you're believing a lie. And it's inviting you to apprentice under the truth. So fear is your friend. So when it pops up, it's saying, okay, there's still little remnants of that.
Well, it's a signal, right?
It's a signal.
It's a signal. And that, I mean, for me, when I feel any of the, fear, a lot of what we would label negative emotions,
all of
this
what
is a
we would
signal.
label negative emotions.
Yeah, totally. It's like changing that relationship, back to the thing I was saying before. When we get out of resistance, when I get out of resistance and go, okay, now I'm curious. Right? I'm just suspending the resistance and the discomfort just enough to be curious. And it's like, that changes the game. And then it's like, okay, what are you here to tell me? Oh, you're here to help me grow and overcome this fear by doing this thing that's scary and I'm going to do it anyway. Okay, snap. And then that becomes a virtuous cycle. Okay, we got to end it here. Derek Rydall, A Whole New Human, 10 Ways We Must Evolve to Survive and Thrive in the AI age. It's on sale today, guys. And just to shout out to what Derek was saying, not only when you order it, if you order it online, get it from your subscription to Audible, wherever you get it, right?
Wherever you get it. Yeah.
You get, when you order that, you can go to, say it out loud, Derek. Derek Rydall
DerekRydall.com/whole new human. Or if you just go to Derek Rydall, DerekRydall, looks like Rydall, but it's pronounced Rydall, RYDALL.com. And you'll see the book thing there. You can click it. It'll take you to the book page. Or you can just go to DerekRydall.com/whole new human. Scroll down. It'll show you what to do. You just put in your information once you get the book, or you can get it from there. And then you'll get instant access. You'll get these tools. You'll have a personalized coach for your own growth, evolution, to future-proof your life, your work, your wealth, and your well-being, or that of your loved ones, your children. Or if you're a teacher and you want to be sharing this with your class of students, again, great way to use that. You can get ideas. It'll give you literal and specific teaching lesson plans so that you can actually share that with your students of any age. It's a plethora of content, but it's personalized to you based on your relationship. You get all that for free. Just get the book.
You got to get the book, and you can give it as a gift. And honestly, just, you and I we talked for a long time, but we just scratched the surface of what your book and these services have to offer. Yeah. So congratulations, Derek. Thanks so much. I look forward to getting you back on Getting Open. Absolutely. Take care, everyone. Whew. I hope you are feeling a whole lot lighter after that riveting, uplifting conversation. As always, if you haven't already subscribed to Getting Open or aren't already following us, please do. I don't want you to miss an episode. Thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you next time.